All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a first of ours, which is a podcast in the Metaverse. Kevin, we're actually doing a podcast in the Metaverse. Was a bit weird setting it up, I think, but at the same time, it feels like we are onto a winner here, guys. We're onto a winner. So I've got a real special guest today. I'll let you introduce yourself, Sabina. But tell everyone and the world your story and how you ended up in the metaverse today.
Awesome. Thank you, Antonio. So, my name is Sabina. I live and work in Amsterdam right now. I work at Wonderkind, which is a recruitment marketing automation company. And, well, to be honest, how I ended up in the metaverse, I'm a huge geek, and I have been since my childhood. I did a lot of gaming, especially for a girl. I'm actually from Azerbaijan. So for a girl from Azerbaijan, I was like mind blowing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the one who would constantly buy some new items for my heroes in games. So I was that child who spent like money on such stuff. So concept of NFTs, when it first was sort of announced, it was not weird to me at all. I could totally relate. And in the Web 3.0, I got in about maybe a year and a half ago. At that moment, I was working remotely.
That's so funny. It looked like, I don't know if you saw that. Sorry, Sabina. It just looked like Kevin was barking.
Yeah.
Sorry.
This is amazing.
Sorry, yes. Kevin, mute yourself. Sorry, Sabina. Carry on. Sorry.
Sure. So I was working remotely, and I was working for one American startup in the Web 3.0 in the metaverse industry. And that's sort of from every point, from everything in my life, it came to this. And although I now work at, so to say, Web 2.0 company, this is still my passion. And I would love also to take my company on board to Web 3.0.
Amazing stuff. So what do you think about the metaverse? Like obviously as a gamer, I've not been into gaming myself ever in my life. I mean, I loved Grand Theft Auto. That was a great game. A bit of FIFA I'd play, but that was pretty much the extent of my gaming career. So obviously from someone who has been immersed in the gaming world, and now obviously it does feel like we are in a game here. What do you think about the metaverse and its prospects for shaping the way that we collaborate and interact in the future?
Well, I definitely think there are a lot of advantages. There are a lot of potential challenges. But I must say I'm probably not the person that would be talking a lot about how like it affects our health or something, how it affects our mental health. I think these are challenges that could be overcame. And I think this is just a world of endless possibilities. This is actually my first time for that long in the metaverse in the workroom. So that is an interesting point on how it's going to affect me when 1 hour later I'm going to take it off and how I'm going to feel. And how would I feel if I do this for multiple times a day, for multiple meetings every day. So, of course, it is very obvious on how gaming works. It is obviously amazing. People will obviously pay lots and lots of money for such an immersive gaming experience. But it is a bit more challenging on integrating this into the business world and for businesses to build into the metaverse.
Yeah.
That is both more challenging and more interesting.
Well, the interesting thing is that we have been spending a lot of time in here, Kevin and I, and we've noticed that at some points after, you do have to get used to it. You have to get adjusted into this space, because I don't know how you feel, Kevin, but I felt that a lot of the, after maybe 3 hours or 2 hours with the headset on, you do need to sort of, I think I can only liken it to what you say, Kevin, around when you go diving, you have to decompress when you come back up for air. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying you have to take your headset off slowly, but what I'm saying is that you do need to come off and just to get away from technology, I feel, because otherwise, I don't know, it's just my personal opinion. Kev, what do you think?
It's the eye strain I find, is that 45 minutes is kind of like you just need 5 minutes off. But as far as being sort of like, oh, I don't want to do it, or it's too much for me. Actually, I really quite enjoy it. There's that certain amount of escapism from it, so you can get time to focus on, like, you've got your headset on. Anna doesn't talk to me. No one comes and nudges me. You've got that focus period. So I find that actually helps. But from a physical sense, I'd say it's the eye strain is the most problematic, if be it very little.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think these are things that like businesses have got to take into account as we navigate through the metaverse implementations. But I am totally on this wave, as we all know. So Sabina, tell us a bit more about what that company you're working in Web3 was doing previously.
Well, what we did educational metaverse for children with autism. So that was obviously a very beautiful mission, and the project is now still ongoing. So yeah, that was also my first experience with the Oculus Quest, with all sorts of metaverse interaction with it. And well, this also obviously has a lot of meaning behind it, also a lot of challenges, because this time you not only work with adults, but you work with children, and not just any children, but neurodivergent children, which is actually one of the concerns that I would mention about bringing metaverse to the workplace, because it seems inclusive, because you can work, you can join from any point in the world, but you would probably need to be young and tech savvy to do this, because I'm not exactly sure if some of the older managers that I know would be able to do so.
Well, funny you say that. It's my father's 80. I just bought him one, and we've spent hours using it. He hasn't had to adapt much to it at all.
Oh, that's amazing. I think it's also a matter of attitude.
Yeah, that's absolutely true too.
Well, whenever anything new comes along, I think, you know, because the metaverse is not what we see right now. Like this is early stage. You know, this is like the internet when in 1995. Do you know what I mean? Remember the dial-up stuff we used to have back in the day, and it was like, you know, and if someone was on the phone in the house, it would cut your internet off. Do you know what I mean? So this is like, obviously we're a lot more advanced, but this is not where the metaverse is going to be. Do you know what I mean? We think about things like Elon Musk's Neuralink and what that's going to do for, you know, the metaverse. And could that potentially then you can actually connect in through your brain, through your eyes. You know, when we talk about stuff like AR as well, so augmented reality, not just virtual reality, you know, that's also going to be part of your metaverse. Do you know what I mean? So you'll have like holograms of people. And Kevin, you were mentioning about Mark Zuckerberg's address and what they're sort of building. Tell us a bit more about that.
Well, I watched the Meta announcement, but I watched the R&D section on it, and he's got some amazing stuff going on. Where like true time facial recognition, where you can simulate your real face and your real face movements. There were rooms with sensors built in, so you can look at an object, let's say a TV, and it knows you're looking at the TV, and it knows that if you look at that TV long enough, you actually want that TV to turn on, so it'll turn on the TV for you. Like if you look at a kettle long enough, 3 seconds, it'll know you want the kettle turned on, so the kettle will turn on. And there were mugs with sensors built in, and you could say, where is my mug? And it will tell you the location in the building of where your mug is, because it's all linked up. The tech that's coming out over the next few years is going to be incredible.
So essentially you could then start, you know, your drink would be in the metaverse with you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, so I think going back to your point around, you know, the inclusivity of the tech, I think it's just about, I think if businesses have to roll it out and it's like comes as a norm, there needs to be policies around, well, what are we doing for the well-being of the staff as well? So not making sure they're not on it all day or whatever, because, you know, that is a strain. But then similarly, you know, how are we enabling people to I guess, work in the metaverse as well. And in my opinion, I think that, you know, I was speaking to your colleagues the other day, Sabina, and I was just explaining about what I think is going to happen. I think that there may be another a thing that locks us down in the future. I've just got an instinct about that, and that's when people will start really taking virtual reality and seriously for work.
Yeah.
So I mean, you guys are all in the office right now, aren't you, Sabina?
Oh, yes. Well, I personally love going to the office after 2 years of working remotely.
Yeah.
But I could definitely tell that I would prefer a hybrid. And for that case, when I'm at home, I would love to have that sort of a virtual environment. However, there is one point I came across it recently, is that what we do right now, we really replicate the real life experience where we're glued to our laptops. We cannot really move around that much. And what I'm interested to see is how in the future all sorts of workspaces will come up with a way to, for example, be on a meeting but not being glued to your chair and your laptop. So really reimagine the whole working experience from home. Because, there are a lot of people who are against Metaverse specifically for health reasons, that you don't stand up enough, you don't move enough. So maybe if we could add this component, it's hard for me to imagine how right now, but I found that thought very interesting. Leaves a lot for imagination.
We've been discussing this a lot internally, and one of the things that one of our colleagues was mentioned yesterday was around, it's like a floor that has sort of sensors, but it enables you to, it's not like a conveyor belt type thing, but actually you can walk on it and it will move. Your sort of feet slip on it slightly. Is that correct, Kevin? It was like your feet will slip slightly.
Yeah, so you move your feet and it runs.
Yeah, basically.
The faster you move your feet, the faster you get.
So that could be
like
a point.
The virtual reality rooms.
Yeah. Well, I genuinely think that this is one of my things that people, and I'm going to do this myself anyway, is create a VR room. So a room where it's just literally like a floor that does the movement for you. You've got maybe sensors around you and whatnot. And I think that in the future, that may be the thing that actually happens, is where people will just have a room where they are literally virtual reality rooms. So
the holodeck.
The holodeck, exactly. That's exactly it. So let's get back to you, Sabina. So tell us, how does a person like yourself get into tech, and now you're sort of really passionate about it? What made you, apart from just the video gaming stuff? Like why is Web3 a big thing for you?
Well, I think the very first TV show that I watched and I was really invested, it was Doctor Who. So it's a science fiction, about time and space travel. And then that's how I got into science fiction. And whatever's happening right now, I again know that there are people who hate this, that don't like this, that think that this is leading us to some sort of dystopian scenarios. But I personally love it. I've been into science fiction a lot, and I've always, any type of my work was related to tech. I've never ever worked in a corporate environment. It was always sort of startup or scale up or something high tech, because I really want to see that future. I cannot say I love everything that's going on. There are some Black Mirror moments, definitely.
Like what?
But what was the latest thing that I came across? Oh my God! I'm not sure if that's real or not, but the prisons that can feel like you're there for 1,000 years, and in reality you would be there for like 5 or 6 years. So prisoners can actually get a chance to, have a normal life. But I'm not sure that will be used correctly.
What was that? I don't quite understand it. Sorry, I don't. What prisons that feel like? How?
So imagine. Again, I'm not sure if that's 100% verified, but I saw this everywhere. So must be some sort of a tool or maybe some sort of a chip, not sure of the technology. But in the Black Mirror, there was exactly that same episode where they would make you think mentally that you're in the same place for years, for 100 years, for example.
Yeah, that's
However,
crazy.
in reality, it's just like 5 or 6 years, which is which I see sort of the point behind it. So they can get a second life, and they had their punishment, but now they're new people and they still have life ahead of them. But if only it worked that way.
Yeah,
That's pretty creepy.
Yeah, but that would, I think that would increase crime, wouldn't it? Because if you really don't like someone, I'll top him, but I'll have 5 years instead of 100 years. Okay, I feel like 100 years, but
probably you'll go crazy though. Being 100 years in prison.
it depends. Yeah, it depends how conscious you are during those 100 years. Are you aware? Or, yes, that's.
And what are you doing as well? Is it? Are you?
I saw this, and yeah.
Well, that's an interesting point. I think, but I'm really optimistic about the future. I think, obviously, it is bringing people away from your the real life somewhat, but at the same time, you're also able to collaborate in different levels. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think that needs to be, you need to move with the times rather than sort of just going, well, that's not going to work, or pushing back on it. I think the Black Mirror stuff is very good. Like, it's sci-fi, and there is certain elements of what's happening, in Black Mirror. But I don't believe it's going to be like crazy where your consciousness is uploaded into a doll, for instance. Do you know what I mean? And then that's you stuck in a doll for life. Your consciousness is, at least. But I mean, that could happen. What would you do, Kevin, if your consciousness was uploaded into a doll, and that was it for you for life?
Consciousness was uploaded to a doll.
Yeah.
And the doll kind of. What? Am I a doll?
You're a doll. You can't move. You're conscious. You're conscious of what's going on. You're inside it, but you can't speak. You're just literally stuck in there. And you're not hungry. You don't wee. You don't go for a poo.
I can't do anything then, can I? I haven't got any options. I'm just a doll. Can I at least let me move my arms?
Well, no, I don't make the rules here, Kev. Do you know what I mean? It's not me making the rules.
You haven't got much to do then, have you? That's might as well go to prison.
That's true.
But the thing is, on that note, there is like certain what's the word, like what's duties of care for these, because it's not your real consciousness. It's a copy of your consciousness, Kevin. Yeah. So this is one episode of Black Mirror was basically, I think it was a doll the person was put into. I can't remember, or it was like a clock or something like that. I can't recall. And they were just sitting there inside this person. The consciousness was inside this doll or whatever, and it was just stuck there. And then literally that was it. But that wasn't the person's consciousness. It was a copy of that. This is where the human rights, or the intellectual rights, I don't know what you'd call it, comes into play, because yes, it's torture for that person, because they're stuck there forever, or that consciousness is stuck there forever. But the consciousness is not the person, or is it? What do you guys think? This is quite a profound fucking topic, I think. What do you think?
Well, as a science fiction fan, I'd have to say that is a person, and that is extremely, well, all right, censorship. That's really bad, so to say.
What do you think, Kev?
So if you stick me in a doll, am I a person?
No, let's say you're about to die, right? Touch wood, you're not. Let's say you're about to die, and basically a doctor comes to you and says, Kev, look, I've got this great thing, right? Do you want to keep living? You'll be conscious forever, and but we're just going to make a copy of your soul or your consciousness, and then we're going to put you into a doll so that you can stick around. Do you know what I mean?
So I can stick around. Do I get to experience more things, or is it just a repeat of my?
Well, no. It depends where you go as a doll. Do you know what I mean? So if you've got a good owner, then they're going to take you places, or and if you
okay, would you look after me though? If I was your doll.
Yeah, I would look up. Yeah.
So I'd consider myself a person. But if you're just going to chuck me in the corner, then I don't know. It's not existence, is it?
No.
Consciousness is one thing, but existence is another.
What do you mean by that?
Well, in existence is doing things, right? A person with locked-in syndrome is conscious, but are they existing? Are they really experiencing?
What is locked-in syndrome, by the way?
It depends how you define life and living, but I agree you're conscious. I wouldn't agree you're existing.
What is locked-in syndrome?
Well, you're just locked in your body.
Right. Okay. So that's what it would be, basically. You would be locked in your body. Yeah.
Like locked in a doll.
Locked in a doll. What type of doll would you want to be locked in, Kev?
What type of doll would I want to? We're going down a dangerous route. Probably a robot. Robot doll.
A robot doll.
Cool.
Would you have? What would you have? Would you have like wheels on your feet so you can move around?
Oh, one of those Hoovers. They get to go everywhere, don't they?
Yes, at least you've got some existence. You're
I'm trying to keep my mind conscious. If I can control it, I'm off out.
Where would you go? Where would you go as a Hoover?
I'd go everywhere. I'd go and just like. They have beeping mechanisms. I can control them, so I'd work out Morse code and just communicate with people. That'd be great fun, wouldn't it?
So you're.
I'd be a Hoover.
Okay, cool. So you've just figured out how to exist as a Hoover.
Good to be ready.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, at least you've got that fail safe there, Kevin. That's good. What about you, Sabina? What doll would you be? What would you be if you had to be your consciousness had to be put into something?
Yeah, I like this plan. Probably something like a transformer or something.
A transformer.
So it's not like one use, but like a.
No, but remember, it is
a robot thing,
it's,
and then like a car.
Yes, but remember, it's a transformer, but it's a toy transformer. It's not. You're not going to be an Optimus Prime. Do you know what I mean? Like a real Optimus Prime.
Yeah. still, I wouldn't really want to be like a Barbie or a teddy bear.
Yeah.
So that's sadder. At least a transformer.
I wonder what I'd be.
What would you be, Antonio?
I'm trying to think about this. I'm trying to think. I'd want to be something that has utility. Do you know what I mean? Like a mug or something.
It's an important decision.
I'll just.
There is an option that has utility, but I'm not sure you'd want to be that.
Well, what is that? Let's.
Well.
A fridge.
A fridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good episode of Black Mirror. What other episodes of Black Mirror have you watched Black Mirror, Kev?
I haven't. I would certainly need to.
Mm.
I haven't watched Black Mirror.
Yeah, it is.
I reckon I could write a few.
Yeah, definitely. What other episodes of Black Mirror that could potentially come true apart from Kev being put in a doll?
Probably the one that's I think it's also true right now in China. So the rating system.
Oh, that one was amazing. Yeah.
I saw your post, one of the recent ones on the NFT resumes and on how world would need recruiters. And I sort of think these two concepts, they could be put together because, based on your resume, your blockchain resume, AI could give you some sort of a score.
Yeah.
And then you would be judged on that score.
Well, listen to this.
It's the same concept.
So we had the original concept of our a platform we were building 4 or 5 years ago was based on this. So it was like everyone would be rated. Yeah. So Kevin would work for a company and then they could rate him and they could rate him 1 star to 5 stars and then leave a comment or whatever. The comments were not anonymous, so everyone was accountable for their comments. Do you know what I mean? So that's because I think that's the piss poor thing about these other platforms, which is your anonymous comments. And so when you got an ability to be anonymous, then it sort of devalidates or devalues that comment or that review, right? Yeah. So the comments would not be anonymous, but they would be stored on a blockchain. So your rating as an employee or a professional, which it was, your rating as a professional would be like obviously tallied up, and then people can go and have a look at you and see your rating, and then they could obviously look at previous video interviews that you've done, and then actually just essentially hire you straight away. I think what's going to happen is that the world is going to, a career is going to become transactional. And what I mean by that is that you will essentially, be able to just book yourself in to go and work for a company if you have the skills, if you have the abilities and whatnot. You can essentially just go and work for that company, and then and that company would accept you based on your experience, your verification, your skills verification on the blockchain, and obviously validation from the world. Now we're quite far away from that, but I do believe that it'll become transactional. What do you guys think? I'm just going to plug my headset back in.
But there will still be humans involved, right? So in the whole rating and then in reviewing the rating part.
Yeah, but 1 second.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. Yes, that's correct. There will still be humans involved, but at the same token, you would essentially be able to build up a database of your verifications, of your skills, of your whatnot, and people will just be able to book themselves into jobs. I think it's going to become transactional. I don't think people are going to be as focused on culture anymore because we're more remote. So, and I don't think that. I think if you think about it, people talk about like company culture and all this stuff, and it's really important to get buy-in, of course, from employees. But at the same time, no one wants to work. I mean, I'm sorry, no one actually wants to work. Do you know what I mean? We all want to sit on a fucking beach. You know what I mean? We all want to be spending time with our families, our loved ones, taking dogs for a walk and all that sort of stuff. Doing things that are like we're passionate about and enjoy and whatnot. Going to work is a form of slavery, right? I'm sorry, it is. And no one wants to do it. So when companies talk about like culture and stuff like that, and all high and mighty around, we want to create this amazing place, this utopian place for our employees. Like, how entitled and self-entitled these organizations, because at the end of the day, people that no one wants to work. So a job should be transactional, I think, in many ways. It should be that you get paid well, and then you go home, you finish on time, and that's it. I mean, I'm quite a radical thinker on this point of view. But what do you think, Sabina? Do you think it will become transactional? I'm trying to find my.
Well, I do think it will. So, and I like the concept. However, I have to slightly disagree because as someone who's worked, remotely for 2 years and worked for great companies, in the comfort of my home, I came back to offline specifically for culture, and I am right now super happy, honestly, because of that. I know I'm more physically tired because I have to get up and go to work and go back and be in the office the whole day. But I feel happier because of the people and the culture. Yeah. So that is something that I slightly disagree with.
Yeah, but the point is, but what I'm saying,
hybrid is the best.
I'm saying on that, this is the world we're living in. So we have to create great cultures. Because we want people to have purpose at work. We want people to enjoy, because we're in that society, right? We're in that cult. We're in that system. So we have to right now, of course. But what I'm saying is like, people should be able to not buy into culture. They should be able to, just come and do good work, get paid for what they do, and then leave. And if they're not buying into culture, so what? At the end of the day, it's it is as it is. But because of the corporatism and obviously capitalism, and by the way, I'm a capitalist. I'm a big capitalist. I love capitalism. But because of it, it's now forced people to look at, I suppose, treat their employees like children in many ways, and create these sort of like fake things so that people buy into their capitalist nature. Does that make sense? This is quite a massive statement I'm making here. So, Kev, what do you think?
This makes total sense. Oh, I'm sorry.
So go on, Sabina. No, go on, Sabina. Go on.
And I do see how that would work for more junior positions, for more like an advisor, for someone like a growth hacker maybe. But I don't see how that would necessarily work for management, for higher more senior positions. You know, I do like the concept as you book and then you work and then you leave if you want, but it feels a bit temporary. Although I see your point, maybe it's good to not let work be the center of your life.
100%. What do you think, Kev?
I think we should all there should be no life-work balance. It should just be life, and work is a part of that. And you have a job, and it's outcome-based. 9 to 5 is so outdated, right? So 9 to 5 was put together because Henry Ford had to keep his workers happy because they stopped working. So the 40-hour week is kind of so old and so outdated from reality now. And I believe we should be working 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, but be outcome based. So if I need to work a lot more harder during 1 week because we've got a project on, but actually this week it's quite light, then I should be able to just have that life balance. And as a team, we get together and go, right, what and when do we need to achieve things? That's where I sit with that, is I think the work-life balance is well outdated, seriously outdated.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's got to be outcome based. And so, as I said, I think we move into this world of Web3, and blockchain is going to be a prominent catalyst for change in the way that we work, the way that we are employed. I was listening to a podcast today, actually, Timcast IRL. If anyone who wants to listen to that, it's a really, really great podcast, actually. And they were talking about how Twitter, I don't know if you guys saw, but Elon Musk has just purchased a massive stake, 9.2% of Twitter. And we'll get onto that in a moment. But how Twitter is doing a lot of censoring of people, so censoring free speech and whatnot because of people getting offended or can perceive offence out of a tweet. And they were saying that the people who are working in Twitter and they're shadow banning accounts for whatever it may be, whatever they say. And so these are some people just talking about how COVID, you don't actually need the vaccination or the booster shots now, because they've noticed that even if you have them 6 weeks after you have a booster, you're then still susceptible to getting COVID, right? So it's sort of almost like you don't need these boosters. But people were talking about that on Twitter 2 months ago, and they were getting banned. Now they've changed their policy, and now people can talk about that. So Twitter is sort of is setting the narrative or blocking the narrative. Do you know what I mean? For how people can communicate or what they can say online or whatever it may be. And of course there needs to be some sort of safeguarding, but at the same time people should have the ability to just say whatever the fuck they want, and other people should not get offended. So what they were saying is that internally within Twitter, what they should do is basically have the admins and the people who are working on censoring content, which is by right, you need to censor explicit stuff and whatnot. They should be their information should be on the blockchain and whatnot, because so we should be able to see who worked in Twitter on that night, and they were blocking this political statement or whatever because of whatever reason. And the reason should be on the blockchain, so you should be able to track all of that information and have an admin trail of of the people who are censoring stuff, because a lot of Twitter's hiring policies are all around. So they'll go to sort of campuses around university campuses around the US, and they will hire sort of people who are part of who are basically different political spectrums. Okay, so some people will be radically right or radically left, and they may be censoring content that is their bias. Do you know what I mean? Instead of censoring content that is, you know, explicit. You know, so this is where the issue with Twitter is coming from. So again, the way that we work, blockchain, you know, is going to be an instrument in transforming that, tracking how we work as well, which, you know, could in some ways, you know, be a privacy issue also for people. But at the same time, you know, I'm not going to go down that route right now. But yeah, what do you think about Elon Musk buying Twitter?
Well, in the context of what you just mentioned, I think that's going to be an amazing change, especially that we live literally in the era of those information wars as well.
Yeah.
So not only, you know, some controversial opinions, but also information wars. And you don't need examples, probably. There are a bunch. And I've heard of cases not only on Twitter, but another social media platform where people who would be working and supporting one side of the conflict, they would erase the opponents' posts and thoughts. So something like that, I think that's a massive and a pretty cool change.
Well, that's if he can change it, right? So the other thing is, you know, he's got it. They were saying that Elon Musk with 9.2%, it means he has the largest stake in Twitter than anyone. It's sort of reminiscent of, you know, these big tycoons who make a load of money in an industry, and then they go and buy a newspaper, for instance. And obviously, Twitter is news. Do you know what I mean? Twitter is political. It's very political. It's a very political platform, and a lot of policies are driven from Twitter and the way that people work and whatnot, or the way that people move their mentalities and whatnot, and listening and social listening. So Elon Musk buying Twitter or buying this stake in Twitter, it could either be for him to, because he cares about freedom of speech, and he's been speaking about this for quite a while, and he's had raised concerns about Twitter having, you know, blocking freedom of speech. Or it could be that he wants to create a narrative, and he wants to drive a narrative in policy change in government, political. I mean, you got to think about these things. What do you think, Kev?
Well, he's also acutely aware of future technology requirements, right? He's a forward thinker, so he's got to have a reason to buy that much stake in Twitter. So there's something we don't know. I mean, I think he's calculated, isn't he? You don't spend that amount of money just because I want to own a bit of Twitter.
Yeah, but yeah, I know, and there are many streams of thought that we could go down with that. I personally think that he understands that even all of the news today is driven by Twitter, right? Not all of the news, but a lot of news is driven by Twitter and what people are talking about. So, there are like CNBC and whatnot, like these news channels quoting tweets from Twitter, But the challenge is, are they verifiable accounts? You know what I mean? Or are they just like 14-year-old kids behind them? Do you know what I mean? There's an interesting thing. So I think maybe it's more about the narrative that I think he wants to own the biggest news and policy and I suppose policy catalyst for policy change, so that he could have so there's a sort of selfish goal there. I mean, if we think about how Elon Musk, and this is my theory as well, Elon Musk was drilling underneath, LA and I think somewhere else as well. But he's not drilling to solve traffic in the Hyperloop. What he's doing is he was drilling to test drilling at scale, right? Which is when he colonizes Mars, they've got the right technology, because they've learned from drilling underneath LA to be able to do hyperloops in Mars or whatever. And so I think he is a forward thinker. You're right. and we'll see what happens there. But I think it's policy change, personally speaking. So, Sabina, tell us, what do you think the biggest shift in the world will take place from virtual reality or Web3? What do you think the biggest shift will happen?
Oh, in the world. It's a bit hard to speak for the world. In terms of work, I think the scenarios that you outlined are pretty possible. In terms of lower entry to become more successful, I think that's also going to happen, because even with the amount of jobs that Metaverse created, you really don't have to go through multiple university degrees. You don't even have to finish school. If you have the community management skills and you can manage community on Discord, here you go. You have like a massive salary. And then I'm not even talking about the founders of Web3 related projects. But in terms of world, I don't really want to say that because it's a cliche answer. I really don't hope that we'll end up stuck at our homes with our virtual headsets. I do like the option of being able to, cycle through Italy from my home. That's something nice. But I wouldn't want to only do that. So I think as anywhere, balance is key.
Yeah, I mean, balance is absolute key. And this is what we were discussing yesterday. If you do want to go to, say, for instance, you want to go on holiday and you want to sit on a beach. Let's say I wanted to go and sit on that beach right now over there. I can't sit on that beach. I'll be sitting on my carpet, and also I won't feel the sun on me because it's cloudy and it's cold here in England, I think. I can't see at the moment, but
maybe you will feel in the future.
Well, this is what we were saying, but how can you? How can you feel? I mean, unless you take like a pill, it's basically a hallucinogenic. Do you know what I mean?
Or it's like a suit or something.
Yeah, a suit. But again, would that be the same as sitting on a beach in Marbella, or sitting in your bedroom?
Not.
Do you know what I mean? So there are a lot of challenges that need to and things that need to be thought out. I think it needs to be the hybrid. It needs to be a world where you are spending a bit of time in here, if you are, and it's collaborative, but at the same time, you need to get out and you need to explore the real world as well, because life is not just in the metaverse. I think that is it, but I think also it'll be used for more experiential things. So let's say you want to go to a gig, and you can go to Facebook Horizon venues right now, and then you can go and watch Foo Fighters. Do you know what I mean? You can go and you watch them, and then there's other people there. You can have a chat with them about it. Foo Fighters. So there's experiential stuff. Same goes for like shopping and whatnot. Well, one of the things we've been discussing internally is around, wouldn't it be cool if you, say, for instance, went into a store and not necessarily tried clothes on in your metaverse, now avatars, because I don't look like this avatar. Kev actually is quite close to his avatar at the moment. You've worked on that avatar, haven't you, Kev?
I've been doing what I can to look more realistic in the metaverse.
You go into a shop and then you can actually buy stuff. So you can just browse a catalog or not catalog, but you can actually do like that, something like that or whatever. And you see, say, for instance, a nice T-shirt or whatever, a shirt. You can chat to a sales assistant in the metaverse, and then you click and you do the purchase. You buy it through there. You transact with through a payment system, and it gets delivered to your house. Do you know what I mean? So stuff like that, the metaverse is going to be absolutely huge for 100%. Let's say you want to another thing we were discussing yesterday, which was you want to go and view the supply chain, or you want to go an immersive experience on how H&M's products are made, for instance. Do you know what I mean? So right from source to being on your body, that would be a really cool immersive experience in the VR world. Do you know what I'm saying? So really cool marketing stuff that could happen. If you want to test drive a Tesla, maybe not actually test drive, but you're sitting in it. You can look around. You can see the details of the car internally. You could potentially mess with the car and whatnot. So there's lots of potential for experiences. and of course for work. But we'll see. We'll see how it all pans out. But yeah, Sabina, what a great! I know it took us a bit of time to get onto the podcast, but this has been the first one in the metaverse. How's your experience been in this podcast?
Well, I have to say I'm pretty comfortable. I mean, we had a bit of a challenge, but once you're here, I like it. I also like how customized the environment is. I think I expected something more generic, but this looks great.
Do you like the Hoff?
I do wonder how I'm going to feel after.
Yeah, keep us updated on that. Yeah, amazing. Keep us updated on that. So for those of you who are listening online on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. If you're listening via Spotify or Apple or Amazon podcasts, then follow the channel. A link to Sabina's LinkedIn profile will be below or in the description. So if you want to connect with her and find out more, then feel free to do so. Sabina, thank you very much for joining. I really appreciate it. And everyone on the call today, thank you for your patience whilst we were navigating through this first Metaverse podcast. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.